the day the music light. All together now! So bye-bye, Miss American Pie. But the levee was dry. Them good old boys were singing whiskey and wine, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Thank you to the UK! I love you!
Don't leave us this way, Tyson Fury. The people cannot get enough of you. And if not a gifted musician, I did think that was one of his better sing-songs on the end of it. But let's talk about the boxing. Fury, touched by genius levels of boxing IQ, intelligence in there, which is almost beyond our understanding, the way he can suss out the job and deliver what's required. And if he goes on, maybe he may well attain true boxing greatness on what we have been seeing. He is certainly building a body of work. The body snatcher undone again by the uppercut. The last thing we talked about was the uppercut. Lennox, how does he keep doing this?
Let me tell you, he always amazes me. This was a great fight for him. He threw a great uppercut, fantastic uppercut. He was basically, you know, touching him, giving him all kinds of different looks. At the end, Dillian Whyte didn't even know what was coming. That was a brilliant uppercut, and it's from the Kronk family. We all throw it. We all throw that uppercut.
I hope Tommy Hearns is watching somewhere.
Yes.
And the spirit of Emmanuel Stewart. It touches us all, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Carl, was there ever a moment of doubt in your mind tonight?
No, it was a landslide. He was winning very, very easy. He's been winning every round. The uppercut, it was a great shot because he never really threw it until that point. He let him.
Correct.
He kind of got him into a false sense of security.
This is what the intelligence, Carl.
Very, very intelligent.
Three moves ahead.
Dillian Whyte was very square. It was really the first time he threw the shot, and he landed a sweet shot, and that was it. Game over. That was a fantastic performance.
David?
He did exactly what he needed to do. He allowed Dillian Whyte to do his thing the first round, let him turn southpaw without mounting any real attack on him. He just wanted to get a look and feel. It's like he's reading. It was like a program, like a computer program, reading what he's doing slowly but surely without taking any real damage in the process, but just touch him that jab, touch him that jab. So when the opportunity finally does arise, Dillian's run out of steam. I've definitely feel that additional stone he put on for this particular fight didn't help him.
No.
It didn't seem faster than he used to. He seemed a lot slower. His movements
was
were slower.
It nonetheless a smart move from the other camp? And of course, your man Harold Knight was a part of the plan for Whyte to show him something he maybe wasn't expected, to come out southpaw Whyte.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they planned to do, but I didn't think that would do anything with Tyson. Tyson can work with a southpaw, especially he recognized that Dillian Whyte is not a good southpaw.
Yeah.
That's why he was throwing that right hand, because that's what, you know, Kronk says. Manu used to tell me, oh, throw that right hand. He's not used to that southpaw stand. Just throw it straight away.
It backfired really, didn't it, Carl?
Yeah, it did. It was just a really lackluster performance from Dillian Whyte. There was no urgency. Steve Bunce mentioned urgency at a point, and there was no urgency.
Now, by the mid round, he's gone back south to orthodoxy.
Yeah, but I think that's down to Tyson Fury and how he fights. But what we seen Tyson, that kind of boxing move style that we seen before the Wilder fights. So he's back to that again. He can do whatever he wants. And
on Carl's point there, that tells me how good this guy is.
Yeah.
That he can modify and adapt all the time.
Maybe it was Dillian Whyte box punching slowly, or maybe Tyson Fury's that fast. Maybe because he's so big and he can move so quickly, it made Dillian Whyte look slower than he ordinarily does. Because against
last fight, we were worried early on because he did look sluggish in the early stages. And he was so sleek in his movement right from the off tonight, wasn't he?
He was sleek, and Dillian's energy seemed to really dissipate ridiculously fast. After the second, third round, he was gasping for breath. And that, I believe, gives Tyson Fury the added confidence to relax and just keep doing what he was doing. He wasn't taking any punishment, and he could gradually feel Dillian just slowly getting worse and worse.
Another thing that Dillian was doing, he was squaring up.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury was moving side to side, and Dillian couldn't keep up with him. He was really just squaring up with him, and that just really opened him up for the uppercut.
Yeah, he was square on when the uppercut landed. He just walked forward, and that was a beautiful shot.
And when he was missing by a massive margin.
A mile.
It wasn't like the shots were just missing tight. They were missing by a few foot. So they were massive shots.
It's energy consuming as well. When you're swinging wildly like that and missing by a mile, it
with
really
an added stone. With an added
your
stone,
energy, yeah.
With an added stone as well, throwing that weight around. His energy went down, but Tyson Fury made him do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure if Tyson Fury would have stood up tall and just let him hit him, he would have had a great time. But because he kept moving the angles, changed his looks, he turned southpaw a couple of times. He was touching him to the body, touching him to the head. The writing was on the wall.
And Dillian was getting off balance. He was throwing punches off balance. Now, Tyson Fury knows about that because he has to always stay on balance to throw his punches. And he recognize that quickly.
Here is again the stoppage. Lennox.
There it is. He was just trying to contain that jab that Tyson Fury was throwing at him, deal with it, and he felt that he needed to duck down into it, but Tyson Fury recognized it quickly and threw that unbelievable uppercut.
Dillian Whyte's team in the corner was talking about getting closer to him, punching in closer, just getting into the range, and he got into range and walked into a massive uppercut.
This was also a very big night for the referee, Mark Lyson.
Yeah.
I thought he did well.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
He did well. He was strong in there, and he pulled him a few times when it started to get dirty. There was no deductions or anything, but I thought the referee was very good. He gave Dillian Whyte every chance to get back to his feet, which he did, bravely did, but obviously it was the right decision to call it off.
Just to come in for a moment, on Tyson Fury's left shoulder there, that is the Union belt that he adds to his collection. This was a one-off issue by the WBC because this was two British heavyweights fighting for the WBC crown, so that's an additional souvenir. I think Sugar Hill's going to have to take a few home on the plane just to alleviate the load a little bit. What a team they are now.
Great team. You could see the respect that Tyson Fury has for Sugar Hill. I mean, even at the press conference, he says, "Where's Sugar Hill's chair?" Great respect by Tyson Fury. I take off my hat to him.
David, from Dillian Whyte's perspective at this moment, it must be a very disappointing dressing room, a despondent dressing room. Will he be in a dark place as a result?
Of course, he believed he was going to win the fight. He truly trained hard. He believes all of this pain over the last 5 years was for tonight, and it wasn't. It truly wasn't for him. He's got a lot in the tank. He got hit with one shot. There was no massive damage done to him there. One stop, he'll be back. He'll come again. But this was too tall a task.
I don't think there was many people, apart from Team Fury, who thought that the fight was going to be so easy. Yeah. It was so easy for him. Yeah. So easy.
But his Carl, against Otto Wallin was a lot tougher. Physically grueling. He got a bad cut. That fight was a lot tougher for him than the Dillian Whyte fight.
Well, it underlines, what being at world level really is all about. That there are guys like Wallin who are not even in the argument at the moment, who really did give Tyson Fury a very hard night, as David said. But we talk from Whyte's perspective. The big issue, really, Carl, before the fight, we touched upon it. Has he got the improvement in him at this stage in his career to manage at this level? And I think on tonight's evidence, it's no at the moment, isn't it?
Well, I think when you say this level, I think Tyson Fury's on his own level. I think he can compete with some of the top heavyweights on the planet, but Tyson Fury, he seems to be getting better, and I think the relationship that they've got with Sugar Hill, it's great to see, and you see the respect that they have for each other, but Sugar Hill has clearly brought something new to Tyson Fury, who is now, as he said, he's a puncher. He was never a puncher before.
But if we chart your career, Lennox, there were stages of additional maturity, your understanding of your body, of how you needed to prepare, and your general ring craftsmanship, and your knowledge of the division and the men who were the real threats to you. It all took time to come together.
Oh, absolutely.
Is Fury now in that phase of his career, Lennox?
Absolutely. He's right. He's at the top of the game. He's the best heavyweight in the world right now. So there's nothing really stopping him. And, we still don't know if he's going to retire or not. But I think he's going to take some time, some rest, and think about it, and then come back to us.
Do you think it would be a shame if he were to retire, or would you understand it?
I would understand it. I think it would be a shame as well. I mean, the guy's been working hard for all of his life, and you know, if he promised his wife that he wouldn't box anymore, then you know that's what he promised. But I doubt it. I think he's going to be back in the ring.
What a way to go out, though.
Yeah, great way.
I'd love to see the undisputed fight for all the belts.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the winner of Anthony Joshua and Usyk, the winner of that fights Tyson Fury, and I think, you know, that's as big as it gets. You could do this twice over.
He's steeped in the game and its history and the achievements of men like Lennox Lewis, and indeed going back a long, long way into the past. Tyson Fury knows the A to Z. Lennox, you were an undisputed champion. Now, we can probably all sit here tonight and say, no, there's no argument. He's the best in the world at this moment, but he doesn't have it on the record that he's got undisputed status.
I still hold the undisputed status.
You're the last man.
Yeah, I'm the last man. So if he wants it, he's going to have to stay.
Are you coming back to fighting?
No.
Definitely not. Definitely not. What about that, David? That incentive, that drive?
I think he'd won all the belts. You know, he's had them all before. He lost them for obvious reasons, but he's come back again on this form. You know, who would say Usyk or Anthony Joshua would be able to do any better than Dillian Whyte? You know, it was such a perfect performance against a very tricky guy usually, but his level is improving. But I'm looking forward to seeing all the belts in the line in one go.
Would you say that was a masterclass?
Yes.
Tonight it was a masterclass for sure.
Absolutely.
He figured out, he decrypted what Dillian brought to the table, which most people struggle with, and was able to just do what he wanted and take him out of one shot, which he doesn't usually do. He normally puts clusters of punches together.
Exactly.
He's got this added fight where he puts all his body weight through it.
Well, funnily enough, you know, people laughed about the golf and all that at Morecambe during the camp, but he said it was actually giving him something a little bit, I think the term is biomechanically, right, that he hadn't had before. That timing, anybody who's tried it, like the rest of us, you know, playing golf, getting through the ball and out the other side is the thing. You were a natural when you tried it, but the rest of us find it very difficult. But he actually picked up on that, Fury, Carl, and he said, it's just given me a bit more on the right side of my... Yeah. I wonder whether it's played into that tonight.
There may have been something there, possibly. I don't know.
No,
that's because you're not. Let me tell you, because you're not a golfer.
Yeah. Let me tell you, the biomechanical moves is the same moves.
Yeah.
That's that uppercut. That's that uppercut coming.
Yeah. And the hooks, the same for baseball, same thing. It's that rotation. And if he's been adding golf into it, it's obviously worked.
Well, the thing is, everything they're doing, everything they're doing is working certainly at the moment. And they're lapping it up, rightly so. Where does he stand in your view, Lennox, in the scope of history now?
Oh, he's definitely up there in the scope of history. I mean, there's no question. This man's undefeated. Most of his fights are historical. Great fighter. Did it his way.
I wonder if that's the representatives of Anthony Joshua or indeed Alexander Usyk on the phone. What a fight that is. Can we just think about that prospect?
It would be a great fight.
You need to do it in two Wembleys to fill that one.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be insane.
Well, it was interesting to see the first round when Dillian Whyte did turn southpaw, and whether it was Tyson Fury just relaxing and getting a feel for him, but that's what he'll have to deal with if he does fight Usyk, that stance. And he didn't look that comfortable. You know, the first round, there was not much in it for me. So the southpaw style, does it give him issues? Who knows? It just makes it a little interesting, but hopefully.
Okay, now you're taking me in that direction, and I've got to follow you down there and say to you, right back at you, if that fight ever started in that fashion, you know Usyk is so much better than what we saw Dillian Whyte trying to be, out of character.
Doing it, that's not.
It was a risk,
style.
Exactly, tonight. And it didn't pay off. It was audacious, but it didn't pay off.
The fact he didn't get knocked out doing something he doesn't normally do in the first round shows, you know, it's an interesting angle that none of us know about.
He only did it in the first round, but he knew he couldn't go back into that in the second round.
Exactly. And I just wonder what that feeling might be like, you know, that's all I've got tonight. And one round later, abandoning that, it's going to make it a long night for the losing man, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, if you go in there with a game plan, you got to follow it all the way through. I didn't understand southpaw in the first round. Maybe that was just to give him a different look. But I know that Tyson Fury came out. He was that first round was just a warm-up for him. He just wanted to warm up, dance around, and throw the jab. And, you know, he's seen Dillian Whyte come out southpaw. It didn't really bother him, but he tried a couple straight right hands there just to kind of muddle him up. But, you know, it was good, great fight.
There was no real intensity. I didn't feel the intensity from Dillian Whyte from the first round. It was like he wanted to have a boxing match with a master boxer, and it didn't make sense to me. I thought he was conserving himself for a big onslaught, but the onslaught never came. He just got slowly ground down.
It's not easy to box a 6'9" man that moves so well and can box from southpaw and orthodox. That's what he faced. He had to figure that out in the first couple of rounds, and he couldn't.
No.
And another thing about that, Lennox, you know, David mentioned it a while ago. Last fight, the third fight with Wilder, the legs didn't look great early on, but his hand speed got him out of trouble. He is blessed by hand speed from the gods, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, and, you know, he can make you miss. He's definitely very elusive in there, and you could see Dillian Whyte was throwing some overhand rights and they were coming from right and left field, but he couldn't catch him. But that was taking a lot of energy out of Dillian Whyte as well, and that caused him to get tired and walked him into that uppercut.
None of it makes any sense. Look at the shape of him. How does he box like he does? How does he move? How does he have the speed that he does of hand and foot? The ring IQ that he has as well. Like they say, it's the quote and it's the thing they say. He is a fighting man. He's a real fighting man.
Born with it, gifted, but he's making the most of his gifts. And what I love about him, Carl, and you saw it when you were topping the bill in Belfast and he was on your undercard 4 years ago. He's generous with his gifts as a human being now. He's come through so much and he spreads the love.
Yeah, and
it's wonderful to be around that, isn't it? This week's been a real joy. I was really worried coming into it for lots of reasons, and I thought the antipathy between the two guys had potentially got out of hand with Whyte not being a part of the promotion for so long. It's been a fun ride this week in every way, and I think boxing needed that this week. Would you agree?
He's a man of the people, and they show great respect. Both of these people, Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury, in the build-up. There was no real aggro or needle, and it didn't need it. But if he wants to give me a small percentage of his purse tonight for appearing on my undercard, I'll take it.
Let me tell you, what I was concerned about was that the referee was going to stop the fight and disqualify somebody, and I was like, how does the fight have to get this way? You guys need to calm down. The ref did an excellent job. He spoke to both fighters and said, hey, listen, come on, sort it out, straighten it out, stop doing this, and it worked.
It doesn't look to me like a man has had enough of boxing, David. What do you think?
It doesn't look like that one bit, and there's one fight he needs to have, I believe, for him to be fully satisfied. Not that he's not satisfied now, but to have all those belts, like the main man Lennox Lewis once had, I think he'd love to put his name up there in the history books. And on paper, he'll be a massive favourite. For whether Anthony Joshua or Usyk win that fight, he'll still be a big favourite going into that fight against both of them. But it's the last big fight left.
Lennox?
Great fight. I believe that he's going to go for the undisputed. And I think when he goes back and thinks and looks at the fight, he's going to want to stay in boxing and go for that last fight. It's going to be the biggest fight in the world.
And retire after that. That's the one to retire on.
Somewhere in there's Noel Gallagher, apparently, joining in the celebrations. I don't think it'll be a short night. Another thing that's really impressed me in the whole build-up for this particular fight, David, the camp is so professional in every single way, and you had this all through your career, Lennox. Everybody knows their job. Everybody's been together a long time.
It's a well-oiled machine. Everybody trusts everybody. There's no gaps. There's no leaks anywhere. It's just rock solid, and that shows in his performances consistently. Since it feels like he's got a rock solid team around him, he's performing that way.
Rock solid. I see what you did there. Very good.
And you know what? His team works out with him, trains with him. That's why they're so close. And my team did the same.
And they're all in shape, I can tell you.
It's a big team as well. And sometimes when you see big teams, there seems to be a lot of people hanging around. But they seem to be, it's working obviously for Tyson, but they seem to all get along with each other. Even guys like Andy Lee, an old crank fighter who's been introduced, Joseph Parker as a sparring partner and a friend and a training partner. It's all working for him.
Former heavyweight champion of the world also.
Yeah, I know.
Not forget that.
Yeah, forget about that.
I think it's time for a last word from us all, gentlemen. It's been a wonderful week, and I thank you all for your contributions throughout the week here on BT and BT Sport Box Office. I think we've still got so much to look forward to in this heavyweight era, haven't we, David?
We really do. You know, there's a big list of young heavyweights coming through, and Tyson Fury is at the top of the pile at the moment. One more big fight for him, and I think that's the perfect career.
Carl?
I would echo everything David said, the perfect career. I hate comparing people and fighters from different generations, but of this generation, Tyson Fury is the best.
And to you, Lennox.
I agree. Right now, Tyson Fury, this generation, is the best. Man at the top.
And the story's only going to get better in the months ahead here on BT Sport and BT Sport Box Office, with Joseph Parker and Joe Joyce announced by Frank Warren to meet scheduled in late July, and in Derby on the 21st of May, this fantastic matchup. Young Zach Parker, a rising star at super middleweight, and Demetrius Andrade, and that is our next big stadium show. I'd like to thank everybody who's worked behind the scenes here at Wembley so hard and in front of the camera, and all our crew as usual. It's, as you've seen, a fairly big undertaking doing a show like this. We've been privileged to be a part of it. History made on so many fronts. 94,000 people at Wembley, the biggest gate of its kind ever. A record purse bids for a world heavyweight title fight, and for one of the few times in history, two British fighters fighting for the greatest prize in sport. It was once owned by Lennox Lewis, David Hay, a former two-weight world champion, along with Carl Frampton. We thank you all for your company. We're all going to remember it. Tyson Fury, he thrilled us 3 times over in the United States, and that wasn't enough. He's come back home and he's done it all over again. Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, no additional hype needed.